All right, this is on the Big Lebowski upgrading the hard drive. All right, I sent you manual instructions, but also do a quick video, especially on the audio part in case you have an issue. So first of all, this yellow connector, it's missing one of the prongs that are going here. That was for the translate that was all in back here. I took that off, unplugged it, and set the translate aside, so that's out of our way. Now there's, going over to the actual upgrade, there's two connectors which connect into this hard drive back here. And you don't need to take your hard drive off, your original hard drive. Just undo the two connectors at the bottom and there should be, I've already done it, just unplugged them both, they're sitting here. Now I'm going to take the new hard drive and connect up both pieces here. So they connect into the bottom and they're keyed. So let me do the first one here. I'll set the video camera aside a minute and I'll show you when I get everything plugged in. All right, so this is what it looks like now that it's plugged in to this hard drive, and just set it up here for testing purposes. Notice the whole game is off from that perspective. Also a quick update or information, that's the motherboard. That's the audio board, and then the hard drive, the PC power supply, and the game power supply, which is the same as Stern's. Okay, I'm going to reach over and turn on the on switch for the game. We want to test the hard drive out. While we're waiting for that, one thing to note is that you must keep both hard drives in sync. So when there's a software code update by Dutch Pinball, you want to do it to your game, follow the instructions, and update the main hard drive, or what I call the original hard drive for you guys. And then you want to unplug it, plug this one in, and re-perform that same update. That way you keep them in sync, and then take this one, unplug it, plug it back in the original, and put this back in the coin box or wherever to store from that. And that way, if you ever lose a hard drive, which there's been more than 2 or 3 Pinsiders who've performed an update and lost their hard drives already. And getting a hard drive from Barry can be difficult, to say the least. All right, the game's booted up, and you can see it's got video. It's working off the new hard drive. And the next thing you want to do is test. There's the flipper button. So if I press the flipper button,
this aggression will not stand, man.
And so you noticed it plays audio. So that's what should happen. And basically now you're done. You've tested it. Store it back in the original cardboard plastic box it was sent in and put in the coin door. Obviously the next, you do the reverse order, you shut it down, unplug both of these, put that in the packaging, plug these both in, plug the translate in, and put it back. Now with all that said, there was one individual that had everything boot up like we described here, except he didn't get audio. And I want to walk you through a fix, and it's not due to anything that I did. It's the Ubuntu operating system sometimes does not recognize the audio board. So you get the whole game, you go to press that flipper button, and you don't get audio. So what do? In that case, you're going to need a plug. Unfortunately, you're going to need to plug a keyboard, a USB keyboard. So see, this is actually, excuse me, this actually here is the USB for the audio. And what happens is this motherboard gets mixed up and tries to go to the onboard audio instead of this. If that ever happens to you, or if it happens for some reason that hard drive is shipped, it's really easy. You get a USB keyboard and you plug it in here, or you get a little dongle. And I got a little dongle, a wireless keyboard. It can be wired or wireless. I've worked on both. So I'm going to go ahead now and show you the steps that you need to take to do that. So as you can see, my machine is off. I've plugged in the keyboard. This happens to be wireless, but you could do wired. Either one works fine. You go and you need to have your keyboard right near you, because you're going to end up hitting the delete key on and off like this. Not constant on, but on, off, on, off, on, off. What we're going to do is get into the BIOS and make a switch in the audio. All right, so I'm going to come back here so you can see, and I'm just going to keep hitting the delete key, and it should boot up into There we go. You'll see the little cursor and it boots up into the BIOS of the ASRock motherboard. Now here, what you're going to do is you're going to go over to the Advanced tab, and you're going to go down to Chipset Configurations. It's the second one. So Advanced tab, second one is Chipset Configuration. You're going to hit Enter to go into it, and you'll notice on here is HD audio is auto. Because Dutch Pinball left it at auto, sometimes it will get confused as to I use the motherboard or that card. Only once will it get confused. When you set it right, you never have to worry about it again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down though, using the down arrows on the keyboard. So the down arrows on the keyboard, and I'm going to go to Onboard HD Audio. I'm going to hit Enter, and I'm going to disable it. So basically you're disabling the onboard audio. You press Enter, and it now says disabled. If you can read that, it's kind of tough to read with a camera, but it should say here onboard HD audio disabled. Then we're going to escape out of there, and we're going to tab over to the boot, not to the boot, excuse me, to the exit menu, and we're going to go down to the first one which says Save Changes. So it's the first one. Again, this is really hard to read, but it says Save Changes and Exit. So I'm going to press Enter. It says, do you want to save the configuration? I'm going to press Y for yes, and I'm going to hit Enter. And now what it'll do is it'll reboot, and what's happening at that point in time is it's turning off the onboard audio of the motherboard and forcing it to use the USB-based audio card. And so we'll be patient here for a minute, and it'll boot up, and you should be able to get onboard audio. You should be able to get the USB-based audio through the card. And again, the way we test that will be the flipper button once this is booted up. So we go over here to the flipper button.
Feet on the dude's rug.
And so now we got audio.
Who the hell is he?
Now you may say, hey Jim, I don't want to leave it that way. I want my original audio settings the way Barry had them. No problem, because right now the hard drive is just between the hard drive and the USB audio card. It's just learned, so to speak, learned that setting. So now you can go back and you can set the audio back. So let's do that. Again, this is a one-time setting, so I'm going to shut down my machine, count to 10, and when I boot back up, I'm going to go back into the BIOS and set it the way Barry and Dutch Pinball originally had it. So we're going to do that. So we flip the on switch back on. We come over to the delete key, and we keep hitting the delete key till we get into the BIOS. Now we're into the BIOS again. And again, I'm going to walk you through. We're going to go over to the Advanced tab, down to the second one called Chipset Configuration. And then we're going to go down to HD Onboard Audio, which is disabled. And we're going to set it back to where Barry had it on auto. We hit Enter. We're going to escape out of here. And then we're going to tab over to the Exit. And we're going to go to the first one, which says Save Changes and Exit. We're going to hit Enter. And then we're going to hit Y for yes to save the configuration, and then Enter again. And now we've set it back to the way Dutch Pinball had it. The hard drive's learned that it has I say the hard drive, Ubuntu is what's making the mistake. And what's Ubuntu? Ubuntu 14.04 is on the hard drive, and that's the operating system. Ubuntu is it's a Linux-based operating system. So if you're from the Windows world, it'd be Windows 10 or Windows 7, right? So Ubuntu is what they used for the operating system. And we've just taught the Ubuntu operating system on that hard drive here that it's got a USB audio card. So boot it back up. We set it back to Barry settings.
Hey, this is a private residence, man.
And now it works. And you should never have to do this again. It's a one-shot deal. If when I ship it to you, the audio for some reason doesn't work. I reached out to Keen, or I think that's how you pronounce his name, the software programmer, and he says sometimes It has to do with how that USB audio and the operating system of Ubuntu works. But that's the quick correction. Again, it's a one-time shot. We fixed it. Now basically you've got the hard drive, follow the procedures, package this away as I described earlier in the video. Any questions, ping me on Pinside. Thank you.